Sundays and Mondays are the days that I have off, but I suspect.
What days, Sundays and Mondays?
Yeah, but I still suspect your easier times to work with would be like, it seems like Wednesdays or Thursdays during the day.
Yeah, well, I want to
You
do
have
it.
more free time.
I want to do it when you're off.
Well,
So Mondays
I
and
need to
Sundays.
be in conjunction with you as well. We don't need to be,
Yeah, I think the Sundays and Mondays will be all right. If it's okay with you.
yeah,
Which, if we can't fit them in, we can, you know.
okay.
The only thing on Sundays is, I don't, right now it hasn't been bad, but if he gets busy, then I have to be out there and
Exactly.
and
Somebody's got to man the phone.
it could go on for 2 hours, then
Right.
again, maybe not.
Right. Didn't come prepared with a,
Is this back on?
yeah, we're working again. I didn't come prepared with a host of Vietnam questions,
Right,
right? Because like with Jeremy and all these others, it's like this giant spider web that you're trying to weave
Right.
into one coherent line,
right,
right? And I think some of the good questions to ask are yet to be asked about Vietnam. Now, we've talked a lot about Vietnam.
Right.
We've talked about some of the players in the equation. But if I just say, well, Moose said this, and then, you know, Chris told me that, and Brenda told me that, and if I just put
Right.
all that into a paragraph or a chapter and whatever, and just let that go.
I think you got it, yeah.
Well, I know we got most of that meat, but it doesn't, you know, how Brenda was talking about, you write this so the reader wants to read it. There's a lot of backstory, or at least some parts of backstory that needs to be
Right.
applied. Like, why did Kennedy have the speech? It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out thing. Just say, on this date, Kennedy says this because of this.
Right,
You know, I mean, if I picked up this book 100 years from now, right, and someone says the Berlin airlift, what the hell is that?
right,
You know what I mean? They don't want to have to go do extra research just to read 2 pages of
Right.
documentation.
I understand, that
Yeah.
makes sense,
And that's what I'm
right,
fighting to fill in the gaps. That's what
Right.
made Korea so damn complicated, you know what I mean?
right,
But the clusterfuck that it was, and I use that word very sparingly, I apologize for my derogatory on it, you know, was really crazy. This guy with a mind. All right, let's just stop. Let's get into Vietnam. You're training guys that are shitting all over the place, pissing all over the place,
right,
and you're making a toast that they can't even translate.
right,
That's spectacular. Outstanding.
yeah.
You do 30 months? How many months you do with these guys?
Do what now?
How many months do you spend? You're 61 to 62. You go in December of 61.
I came, 13 months total.
13 months.
Right, and,
So like
Half-
December of 63.
yeah, about half at the training center and half with in the field, something like that.
All right. So 63 though, by Christmas time, 63, you're coming back home.
Yes,
You're off to Saigon, helicopter to Saigon,
Yeah.
Saigon back to Fort Riley, Kansas, or
no,
Gordon?
I came back to Fort Knox.
Fort Knox.
Yeah, when I left Vietnam, the first trip to Vietnam, I came back to Fort Knox.
All right, this is where I think it gets interesting because you get involved in a lot of training of other people at Fort Knox,
Right,
and you get a citation at one point because you're helping the general train these officers training school. Is that in
Right.
64? And you've got Company A, but you also end up with like Company G.
Right,
Right. And that whole swath of things really laid the groundwork for your next tour to Vietnam.
right. What happened is that I started the first company in the Officers Candidate Brigade, you know, as first sergeant.
Okay.
So I was first sergeant in the A company, and we had a straight outfit, everything. We had good training, we had sharp, won all the inspections, everything. And then they kept expanding
B
the
company,
brigade,
C
right.
company, D company.
Right, they made them, and finally the last company they had to make, because the number of the candidates was getting in to train, number of troops, was G Company, and they made a decision at brigade headquarters, you know,
Okay.
Colonel Root, LCS brigade, that he wanted the G Company to get started, not to get started from new people, but he wanted the seasoned people to go to G Company, because they had a new commander coming in, new captain, and so he wanted some people who'd been there. So I got called by the deputy brigade commander, and myself, my company commander of A Company, and we went up and he said that they wanted to reassign me, you know, over there to G Company, and I said, well, I would rather stay with A Company. So I know, but you need to do it because we gotta have people that's seasoned to start this company. So anyway, I went back and they told me to get with S1, not S1, but the personnel and S1 both, and see what other assistance that we may have to get started until the captain came in. There's a West Point captain being signed, and he was on the way in to take over G Company. So anyway, I said, well, I need my company clerk. That's from A Company. So because he knows how to do the reports, the morning report and stuff, and we won't have time to train somebody else. And I says, A Company will, because they got the best people. So I got him, and then finally, it really upset A Company. I told him I needed a supply sergeant, and I needed my supply sergeant from A Company because we had to draw the bunks, the beds, the furniture, all that stuff had to be drawn, and the supply room had to be set up for weapons and everything else. And I needed somebody that was the best.
Time was an issue.
He was the best, right. Okay. So anyway, he did that, and then I tried to get the mess sergeant from A Company. They said, no, A Company won't have anything left. But I did get a couple of cooks. Instead of getting all new cooks, I got a couple from A Company, which helped out because they knew what the system was.
Had a lot of hit the ground running. Everybody knew what their jobs were.
Right. Okay. And of course the colonel signed 2 or 3 TAC officers, lieutenants that had been there from different companies over there. So and the exec officer was a senior first lieutenant who had been with the brigade from the beginning, and he knew. So we were pretty well set up when the captain came in, was ready to go.
Okay.
I mean, we had everything set up ready.
Now, you're training officers. These are all, what's their level? What are they designated as?
They started as candidates.
So
and they go all the way up. School. Yeah, they have candidates and junior candidates, junior and seniors. I think it's when they get to 16th week, they become seniors.
So
senior
it's based
candidates.
On time, yeah.
So a lot of privileges and they gain as a senior. Or as they started more or less acting as second lieutenants, more or less, you know.
Now, for people on the outside looking in, if you're going off to candidate school and you're, say, on week 8, and you realize this is not your gig.
Well, that was spit and polish. You go from combat, you know, stepping in crap, teaching, fighting, you go back and you go to spit and polish. You can't. Just overnight, you go from one part of the military, the army, to the other part. And
well, what I was going to get to, though, if you're in officer candidate school, I'm one of your guys in A Company or B Company or whatever, and I don't make grade. For some reason, I don't muster up. I do something stupid while there or whatever. If I get removed from candidate school,
yes,
what happens to me?
you get reassigned when you become a candidate, you're promoted to E5.
Okay.
That's sergeant, but mainly it's for pay purposes. Okay.
Right.
So if you don't complete the course, you probably go back to E4, E3. Depends on what happened.
And then back to wherever they assign
you. Yeah, you're reassigned wherever.
You usually don't have a
Back
big
those
city
days,
back
they
here.
went to Vietnam, okay?
Yeah.
Just about 99% was shipped to Vietnam.
And this is 1964, so there's a
Right.
push. You need a bunch of
Oh, you need a bunch of them, yeah.
captains
No,
and sergeants and
Right.
everything else.
I even remember one of the first people from A Company that got commissioned was a guy by the name of Rogers.
Yeah.
And he shipped him right to Vietnam. He went to AOB course. It's an advanced officer. It's not advanced, it's basic officer training after we get done. And he went through that and he shipped out to Vietnam, and he was over about 6 weeks, and we were notified, he was from Louisville, that he had been killed in action. So they brought his body back and they buried him down at the cemetery on the right on 31W going down.
Okay.
Right there, you'll see it right there.
All right.
I think when you come off of the Gene Snodder's over on your right, you can see it.
I know yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, right
So
there.
we went up and buried him, and that was in,
It was Captain Rogers?
yeah, he was Lieutenant Rogers.
Lieutenant Rogers.
Yeah, he was buried up at, of course, it's still there, of course, his identification.
Right.
Well, so we all went up and to the funeral, military funeral for him.
That's true.
That was kind of a shock to us.
Oh, I mean,
We
that-
lost more, but that was the first one that we commissioned, we knew got killed in Vietnam, you know.
Did you take it personal?
Huh?
Did you take it personal?
Yeah, I took it personal because he had, when he got commissioned, you know, they all wait and get $1, you know, and wait till they get the first salute. And being first sergeant, they wanted me to give them the first salute. They was commissioned, you know, and I'd salute them. They all hand me $1, and I had $1. I still got it, signed by Rogers.
Really?
$1 bill. I got a bunch of them. But I got one signed by him. So you take it personally because you know him, you know.
Right.
And you don't feel that lack of training causes death. But, you know, you don't take it that personal. But as a fellow soldier and, you know, someone that you did train,
That you did train.
you take it personally, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially seeing his family there,
Well, that's
his
what,
wife and everybody.
that's something that I think needs to be brought up, is that
Right.
I can perceive you as a combat frontline kind of guy.
Right.
And it takes a lot of steel will and calm and all the qualities of good
Yeah.
leadership, you
And
know.
then-
And you think that these commanders and these leaders get hardened against that kind of stuff because they have to be, but
Yeah.
it just can't be done, can it?
You have to go with the punches, Bobby, but it's the same way in Vietnam, you know, when one of my outfits would, you know, a sergeant major would go on a recon or patrol, get involved in combat, which was daily, and we always give them a burrow by sticking the rifle in the ground with a steel helmet and the boots in front of it. And I always, sergeant major, when I was available, I'd have roll call. You'd have 7, 8 of them out there at a time, you know. And people would be there and call the name off and everything. And then, well, of all of them, you know, it's the last roll call. They don't answer, you know. You call their name, social security number, they don't answer your rank. They didn't answer, of course. But that's known as class rank. Then we have someone play the taps, you know.
Right.
Came over in Vietnam, we did, and that was it, you know.
Right.
Of course, the body's already been shipped back to the States, on the way anyway. But we had that, when we could, maybe 3 days a week, you know, if we had to. We always regretted doing that, you know.
Yeah, there ain't no small.
And some of them you knew, some of them you didn't, but most of them you didn't know, you know. You don't know every name, but you know. And then when I guess it was 1968, and I'd been with OCS about 2.5 years or so.
No, it'd be
Maybe
longer than
more,
that.
right, longer than that.
64 64 to 68.
68, yeah. So anyway, I got a call from the Sergeant Major at the Department of Army. He called down and told me, well, first of all, he said he had been talking to Sergeant Major Dole, who was at West Point, and he said that in talking with Dole, that he had to pick a person to go with a major general that was going to Alaska to test some cold weather equipment, and for it to take about 4 to 6 months, and then what they decided to do, and Dole had recommended it, that maybe ought to pick me, and let me go as the general.
Oh, you're an ex-polar bear.
Right.